We've made John Cena a 100 overall in WWE 2K23, and every time he eliminates someone in today's matches, he loses 100 attribute points. Every time he wins a match, he loses 300 attribute points. The aim is to win 3 different match types, with the final being a 1v1 TLC match against the highest rated superstar in WWE, Roman Reigns. And because we'll lose attribute points along the way, every match is going to get harder and harder. If at any point in the video I lose a match, the challenge is failed. We got this idea from the Wrestling Gauntlet, but decided to put our own spin on things, so there's a link to his video in the description below. Here's John Cena's stats currently. I've maxed them all out so you can see he's starting at a 100 overall. The first match type is a 10-man Royal Rumble where I'll be entering first, so as you can imagine, I'll have to eliminate quite a few people in order to win the match and progress. The worst part is that every time I eliminate someone, my attribute ratings will go down by 100, but if I don't win the match, then I fail the challenge. And I really want to win the challenge. So as I entered first into the Rumble, I was hoping that the randomized superstar who drew second was at least going to be somewhat manageable. And would you believe it, in at number 2 was the man who we're trying to dethrone today, Roman Reigns. I honestly couldn't believe my luck. Of all the superstars there are, I was stuck fighting Roman from the very start. Being 100 overall obviously makes this a lot easier, but it was still the worst outcome I could possibly have hoped for. Thankfully though, it wasn't long before number 3 came out, and it was Butch, so the plan I had was try and let these two fight while I preserve my stamina in the corner. This worked for a little bit until the countdown began for entrant number 4, and I knew I was going to have to fight again. Chuck Palumbo, possibly the most forgettable mid-carder of the early 2000s, jogged out, and I thought this was going to be a breeze. His rating was low and I was still fresh. Then he immediately eliminated Roman Reigns. Clearly he's been training a lot in his time away from WWE. Grayson Waller then entered at number 5, and I'd had enough of Chuck Palumbo. This fraud has come in and had his moment, it's time to go. Even though I wasn't really looking to eliminate a load of people, I noticed quickly that others weren't really trying to either, and I needed to win this match somehow. Axiom came in at number 6, and honestly, since Roman, the level of competition was pretty low. I kept as close to my initial strategy as I could, and recovered stamina wherever possible, allowing the other competitors to fight amongst themselves and hopefully get some eliminations. But as Ciampa came in at number 7 and Jim Neidhart at 8, the ring started to fill up, and I just couldn't sit around and watch for much longer. The more I got involved, the higher the chance of me being eliminated myself. However, if I left it too long, people would start to get their finishers, and if I was close to being eliminated, they could use that finisher to guarantee that they got me out. In came Montez Ford at number 9, but somehow, despite just entering, he was eliminated immediately, which really helped me out a lot. Finally, at number 10, outwalked Cactus Jack. If you've watched any of our MyGM content, you'll know just how personal it is between me and him. I was doing well in terms of eliminations, keeping it to only 1 so far, but he just had to go. And it had to be me that sent him over the top rope. With him basically still on full health and stamina, I grabbed him and got him onto the apron. And just like that, I eliminated Mick Foley just seconds after he entered. And that felt pretty good, not gonna lie. The dilemma was that I didn't really need to do that, and I've just taken another 100 attribute point hit in the process. My emotions got the better of me, and I made a rash decision, but I just had to deal with it and stay focused on winning this match. The next few minutes consisted mainly of individual fights going on while I tried to be as scarce as possible, but eventually the time came and I had to eliminate Grayson Waller. He was targeting me and doing some damage which I really couldn't afford, seeing as I had 4 more people to get through after him. Now 300 points down, I got back to work. Fortunately, Jim Neidhart ended up throwing Butch over the top rope, saving me a further loss in attributes. But that only left 4 of us, so his attention quickly turned to me. Seeing as he'd been slugging it out for a while, his health was pretty low, so I took the opportunity to throw him onto the apron and shoulder him out of the Rumble. After that, I saw another opportunity. Ciampa had been taking it to Axiom and he was stunned. If I could get Ciampa out, then all I'd need to do is Irish whip Axiom out for the win. Thankfully, Ciampa was a fairly easy elimination, leaving me to grab Axiom and hurl him out as well for the victory. I may have got more eliminations than I would have liked, but the main thing is that I won. So after winning the Royal Rumble from the number 1 position, I ended up eliminating 6 superstars, meaning that I lose 600 attribute points. Also, because I won, I lose an additional 300 points, meaning that I lose 900 points in total. Now, I do get to decide where these stats are deducted from, and I need to be smart to try and still give myself the best chance of winning this challenge, but already it's not going to be easy. I thought that taking stats off in an even sort of spread would probably be the best idea, although I did leave my grapple offense at 95 so I could hopefully still deal some damage. I took 320 points off my offensive stats, then 80 off of reversals, 110 off of durability, 90 off of defensive stats, and finally 200 off of my physical attributes and 100 off of my special and finisher. This left us at a pathetic 65 rated overall. The second match type is an Elimination Chamber, and again I'll be starting at number 1. As for the other entrants, I decided to just randomize it to make it as interesting as possible, so hopefully we don't get too many high rated opponents. Of course, that was never going to happen, as at number 2, Edge came out. We had to start the Rumble with Reigns, but at least we were 100 overall. How are we supposed to compete for the whole of the chamber if Edge is the first one out with us? Goal number 1 was to last until the next entrant was released, and this actually ended up going better than expected. Even though I was only 65 rated, I was still doing a good amount of damage due to my grapple offense being maxed out. The time between entries is obviously longer than in the Rumble, but not by that much, so after around 50 seconds, Jim Neidhart was released from his pod. This allowed me to recover fully outside of the ring while they went for each other. I decided to stare Shawn Michaels down to pass the time, then went and hid on top of his pod. Of course, the next entrant was Shawn Michaels, who immediately looks to climb onto the turnbuckle to retrieve me, but I was way ahead of him. Perfect. The time then spent waiting for entry number 4 was used to allow the others to fight and chip in with some damage myself here and there, but I knew that soon I'd have to get right into the thick of it. Otis was out next, and this is where my strategy started to become redundant. There were simply too many people in the ring for me to stand around idle just watching. I tried to get involved, but seeing as my speed and technical ability was so bad, it proved to be difficult. However, we still managed to make it all the way to the final entry, Rikishi, without a single person being eliminated, and I was starting to get a little bit nervous. If I had to eliminate everyone, not only would that be extremely difficult, but I'd also lose an insane amount of attribute points. I shouldn't have even been worrying about that though, as out of nowhere, Shawn Michaels ends up hitting me with a sweet chin music and covering me, but due to me preserving my health and stamina well, I was able to kick out. Suppose that was a bit of revenge after me staring him down randomly in his pod. What that did show me though is that I couldn't take risks any longer. The more superstars in the ring, the more chance there was of something like that happening again. So I hauled Rikishi up, hit him with an AA and eliminated him. Another 100 points was a big blow, but nowhere near as big of a blow as losing this challenge would be. Thankfully though, Edge went into God mode and eliminated both Jim Neidhart and Shawn Michaels with a spear, saving us a massive 200 points that we could have ended up losing. Seeing as he'd been in from the start though and hadn't been avoiding contact like I had, he was pretty beat up, and I also had a finisher stored up from fighting Otis. So when Edge came over to use his last finisher on me, I made sure to get in there first, hitting a devastating AA onto the outside. Edge was eliminated and I'd made it into the final 2. Me and, of all people, Otis were going one-on-one to see if I had the opportunity of fighting Roman Reigns in a TLC match. Otis honestly gave me hell. He kept reversing everything, including my finisher, which at that point made me think that he might be unbeatable at this rating. After laying into me for a while longer, he got me into the corner and set up for his signature, which I somehow reversed despite my low reversal rating. This allowed me to get up, clothesline him down, and hit the 5 knuckle shuffle. One move stood between me and Roman. All I had to do was connect with an AA and hope that he didn't reverse it. I got him up, and managed to slam him down onto the mat for the win, meaning I won the Elimination Chamber with a 65 rated John Cena. Somehow I came out on top, but this wasn't even nearly our toughest challenge, as due to me winning the chamber, I now had to face the tribal chief Roman Reigns. And with my 3 eliminations and the win, I had to take off another 600 attribute points, which actually meant that every stat was now at the lowest it could possibly be, so I'm a 30 overall rated. Being 30 rated was gonna make this match near impossible, but I was willing to leave my all in that ring. Whatever the outcome is, I'm just proud to have gotten to this stage. With a lot of hustle, loyalty, and respect, I was ready to never give up. Things actually started out okay. I managed to hit a few moves on Reigns, but honestly, they were just tickling him. Anything I hit him with, he'd just no-sell and stand straight back up. After a bit of back and forth, he set a ladder up in a pretty awful position and climbed up. At this point, I was debating letting him unlock a few sections of the briefcase so that I could hit him with a move, quickly climb up and win. but that seemed a little bit too risky. I ended up getting him down from the ladder and throwing him out of the ring with the intention of unlocking some sections myself. But I knew that I needed to go big if I was going to keep him down for the count. So I ascended to the highest point of the ladder and hit a massive crossbody on him for huge damage. After throwing him out again, I went back for the briefcase, but the ladder was in such an awful position that I physically couldn't unlock the case. So I ended up turning around and hitting him with a double axe handle instead, thinking I could move the ladder and give it another go after dealing some more damage. This resulted in a bit more back and forth before a cutscene was prompted and Jey Uso appeared to help out his tribal chief. If it wasn't already hard enough being 30 rated, I now had the 99 rated Roman Reigns and his cousin or nephew outside of kayfabe to deal with as well. The match completely turned on its head. If I even managed to lay Roman out for a bit, I'd have to go and sort Jey out as well. But by that time, Roman would be up and going for the briefcase again. Eventually, I'm sad to say, they both got the better of me. As I was fighting Roman at the top of the ladder, Jey swooped in to pull me down, which ended up stunning me long enough for Roman to unlock the briefcase and win the match. Even though I fully expected to lose, I'm still gutted. To get this far and bow out at the last hurdle is never easy, but I guess our rating disadvantage and the interference from Jey Uso was just too much for us.